Greetings, y'all. Sending you some positive, warm vibrations from Central America. This is Body-Culinary. And it seems like we just jumped in one day into rainy season. We went from several weeks of over 100 degrees to one night of rain, and now it's like it's on. So I'm so glad that intuitively I was really hustling to amend the soil, put lots of nutrients back into the soil, and get lots of plants and kale and collards and tomatoes and all that stuff into the ground. So I'm welcoming you into my food prep area. So from time to time, I'll come on and I'll welcome you into a Living Foods jam session. Today, though, a little different. I'm just going to share a couple of things. These are simple. Some of these things you may be aware of. But as the season, well, we haven't gone into the summer. And many folks say that we could go into a second wave of this whole really serious thing, you know, in terms of these infections. So I'm really big on the ways of the mothers and the grandmothers. So it's raining outside, so the peppermint was really far from the house. But right outside, I have some really beautiful fresh oregano. And so, you know, I'm always saying everybody can grow something. So actually, oregano is really potent, and it's a top bacterial. It's also antifungal and bacterial. So you can make a tea with it. You can blend it if you're eating living foods, if you're not heating up any of your water, which I did for many years. But you can blend it with water and drink it straight and strain. It's actually potent, almost like cloves. Like, you know how cloves can make your tongue numb or numb out certain areas of your mouth, right? If you have a toothache, well, oregano is right up there with it. And this is so antifungal and antiviral. This is actually really, really good for colds and upper respiratory infections. So I started this from seed, and it grew into a huge, gigantic bush that was there for like maybe a year and a half, if not more. And then I took the cuttings off it. It turned and went down south. But now I've got maybe about 4 other new bushes coming right up off of that oregano. So oregano oil can be very, very expensive, the essential oil of oregano. So these are things that are good to have in your natural, you know, herbal medicine chest, right? In your juju bag, is one of my mentors used to say. So this is the essential oil of oregano. So this is not mixed with anything. You do not want to put most essential oils on your skin. Usually you need a carrier oil. But oregano, this is oregano oil. We're not going to put this on our skin today. This you can use for a steam if you are congested in your nose, or you feel like itchy in your throat. You can use oregano oil, and this is a really, really good brand. So I'm not endorsed or whatever. This is just came right out of my my herbal medicine chest, out of my stash. So Oracacia is a really good brand. Now is another brand of essential oils that you'll find in the store. Not exactly the same quality, but still pretty good and a little less expensive. So sometimes you can get like more bang for your buck. So this is a half an ounce bottle, and this is a full ounce. And you can also get this better deals on these brands online from Amazon. So oregano oil and also peppermint oil. These are 2 oils that are really, really good to keep. So you can make a facial steam with this, and this is really good to open up your throat. Also, the thing I like about Oracacia, it costs a little bit more, but this is something you can actually put a drop or 2 right underneath your tongue. So if you don't want to take Vicks, like some folks from the old school from the South would make liniment or make these concoctions, or take Vicks and just put it, like make you swallow it, right? So this is this might be a more pleasant option. Right? It's just 1 drop is really, really potent. You can put it underneath your tongue. You can also follow it with warm water, warm to hot water, warm to hot lemon water. So that's peppermint and oregano. So these are good. These to me are the best quality. And then the next brand that's a little more affordable would be citronella. Right? And this is also good as I'm going out in the garden where I'm at. It's a very tropical region. So there are lots of mosquitoes, right? One of the issues that comes up with lots of mosquitoes is some people get something called dengue, right? So that's a whole other situation. You can look it up. So a lot of mosquitoes, or just if you don't want to get bit up and you want something natural to put in your bag, you can bring citronella along, and you can even cut it inside a little olive oil, or you can also cut it inside of coconut oil. Now, all 3 of these herbs, I have them growing out in the garden. So that's a lot less expensive, right? And then you know how many plants I can get from this. So if I didn't have the oregano oil, I always plan to not have access to these things, right? Just like in many of folks' states, there's no alcohol. You can't get any alcohol. So you want to have things. You know, I have this mindset of thinking of the ways of the mothers and the ways of the grandmothers when you had to provide for yourself. So the peppermint I have out in the garden. I have the oregano, right? And I also have the seeds for citronella, right? So this is not the same thing as lemongrass. It smells very lemony. It smells kind of citrusy, but this is different than lemongrass. So the mosquitoes don't like this. Quite often when you buy expensive citronella candles from Home Depot, those big home goods stores, what's inside the candle is citronella. Can you make your own oil? Oh, good. You do have oregano oil. Well, usually you would need a special type of distiller. So there are different ways that you can extract any kind of oil, right? You have the oilier oils, right? I used to sell olive oil for a living, believe it or not, really high-end olive oils. And then you have your essential oils. So it is a really long, slow process, and you would need so much herbs, like maybe 2 huge, gigantic tree bushes to get just a little bit of it. So that's a long process. Now, you can look into it. That could even be something to consider as a business. But what I would do is just very practical. I'm always thinking like Grandma Lou, my great-grandma Mackie, and great-grandma Jean, right? All 3 of them were in their 90s. And you can take the fresh herb and you can just do a steam with it. So what I have here, my mama would say, I can show you better than I can tell you. So this was an inexpensive little tea kettle. Now, I really don't like drinking or eating out of plastic. You know, it just makes me think of folks in the old school drinking beer out of plastic. Some people used to put their cigarette butts inside plastic, so that kind of grosses me out a little bit. I prefer glass. So I do have a glass kettle, which is right here. And actually, for many years, right, as a living foodist, I stopped, and I used to live in a really cold region. I had stopped drinking any kind of hot teas, right, because I'd rather get. I don't want to boil all the nutrition or the enzymes out of the plant. So recently, in the last year and a half, 2 years, I've started drinking more warm teas, especially sometimes when it gets a little like with the temperature. I call it a version of winter in this area, this region where I am. But from time to time, when it gets really, really bitter cold, I'll have warm tea. Otherwise, it's so hot here, I'll take a mason jar and I'll put fresh herbs inside the mason jar, and I'll put the herbs in the water and make a sun tea while I put it outside. But I say work with whatever you have in your environment. So I was going to give this away, sell it or something, and then with this whole quote unquote pandemic going around, I was like, oh, perfect. This has become the house steamer. So the minute that any of us feel any kind of itching or congestion, I'll plug this sucker right in with some water, or I'll plug this right in, and you can do a steam. Now this is also good for your face anyway, but it's not hard at all. So just like the all kind of theories that are going around as to whether this works with viruses or not, to me, I take my chances with my juice and my own natural remedies. So all you got to do, let me unplug this one. And so I don't like to boil the enzymes out of a tea. If anything, I'll steep it inside. So especially when it comes to the leaves, you have different parts of the plant. You have the stem, the root, the flower, the leaves, and all of them have different properties, and they can be handled differently. So I'm just going to plug this in. And if you have children, this is cool too. So it has like a little base. You can put this on. So I'm using this. This has become the home steamer, right? So what I do is just put like a drop. Oh, and this is so potent. Again, the Oracacia, I think, is the best brand. It's the best quality. So also, it's a good idea. I recommend that you, if you can, join a food cooperative. I've been a member for like almost going on 30 years. And back then, I didn't know anything about organic or nothing. I just knew that I was a young mom, and I was determined to feed my son healthy food because I saw all the diseases and obesity in my family. So I'm just going to put 1 drop. That's all you need because this is so potent. Yeah. And I'm going to put 2 drops of the peppermint oil. Now, again, I always plan for not having access to these. I always plan for like just something in my mind. I'm thinking off the grid for whatever reason, right? I've had my experience with that. But if you're growing the plant, it's so inexpensive to boil the water. So I'm just going to put this on. And also this has an automatic shut off, right? I've had some that don't have an automatic shut off where you can burn it out. But this has an automatic shut off, so I can just turn it on, and when it's done, it will shut off on its own. It won't boil over. So once it comes to a boil, then I'll put the herb inside of it. Greetings, Mabel. So again, it was raining so hard, and I'm so grateful for the rain right now. I wasn't able to get the peppermint, but I can take the oregano, and this is so, I'm like, you can smell it. This is so potent right now, the fresh oregano. Actually, the fresh oregano, also you can take this and you can steep this in like in a little jar with some olive oil or some coconut oil. Coconut oil actually is really good because coconut oil is also antifungal. And you can massage your feet. So if you have, you or maybe your man might have a little bit of little stinky feet or athlete's foot or foot fungus, you can use oregano oil. It's also good to massage into your scalp with olive oil. You steep it for some days, maybe like for a week or 2 weeks inside of the olive oil, and then you pull the herbs out. And so then the essential oils leach out into the essential oils from the herb will leach out into the olive oil or the carrier oil, and you can use it inside of your scalp if you have like psoriasis or dandruff. So you can find a lot of uses for it, but for bronchitis, for colds, for coughs, you can use oregano. So everybody can grow something. Also, the oregano is really nice to pair with basil and or tomatoes when you're making your own homemade tomato sauce. So I didn't grow up Italian or anything with homemade tomato sauce. So when I went to culinary school, well, firstly in the Caribbean, right? I have African American, Afro American, and also Caribbean lineage on both sides of my family. So there are certain herbs in the Caribbean like thyme and garlic. A lot of that stuff is fresh. And the Afro-American flavor profile, a lot of times we grow up with garlic powder, with onion powder, and so on. But in culinary school, I was expecting all these spices, but I was really shocked that a lot of these high-end dishes that were prepared, there wasn't so much ingredients. It was the quality of the food. So I really got like my whole brain changed in terms of thinking of black pepper when it's fresh. So I like to grind all of my spices either in a mortar and pestle that you'll see over there in the States. So if I was doing like catering or something, I would have a spice grinder. But I like just the movement of grinding the herbs fresh. Also, I'm getting the essential oils and the medicine in it fresh. So I could also alternately, again, you would have such a difference in cost, right? If I just take the peppermint and the oregano, once this comes to a boil, and I can drop this right in here to do a facial steam. So this is going to come up to a steam. So the only other thing that you need is keep, a nice, fresh, clean cloth for your face. Oops, I'm dropping my cloth. And then also, I'm just going to take a piece of African fabric, because African fabric, you can do 5 million things with it. You can tie a baby on your back, which I did. You can take African dance class. I can take some herbs and some stuff and tie it up in here, make a little satchel, throw it over my shoulder like I'm running away from home. So, I'm going to put the herbs inside. I like to rinse everything several times. All right, that's going to make it really potent. And then you're just going to make a tent. You can make a nice little tent. And you don't want to push your face too closer because you're not trying to burn your face, right? And you may even want to keep it open just a little bit over here. But this will go right to the heart of that. So if you're really itchy in your throat or you're congested anywhere here, or as a precautionary measure, anything you feel, any kind of cold going on, you can take a drop, not the oregano, a drop of the peppermint underneath your tongue and follow it with some warm water or some warm to hot tea and lemon water. If you don't have the lemon, just drink it hot. And then also, and you can sip on that all day. And then also you're going to steam your face with it. So you're going to make a nice little tent. Right over here, make a little tent. Woo! So I'm just going to open this up and keep your face. Woo! Wow, the oregano is potent. Then do a nice little steam. So if you're really congested, this will open it right up. And you can do it, if you do it on the stove, be careful, don't burn up the fabric. Make sure you turn the turn the stove off. But I'm not putting my face directly over it. So I'm making a nice loose tent. I'm not trying to suffocate myself. And I'm not trying to burn my skin. And make sure that you inhale. Now, there's some schools of thought that say that inhaling the warm vapors and also the vapors from the oregano, right, which is antifungal and antimicrobial, will go right to the heart of viruses. So some people can debate back and forth. I don't have time for debating. You know, I'm a woman, I'm a mother, I need to be in action, right? And you need to know how to treat yourself. And then also, ooh, this is good. Ooh. Get a nice steam. Open your nostrils and everything right up. Men folk, you also want to know how to take care of yourself. You want to take care of yourself. You can't just wait on a woman to do this stuff for you, you know? So I'm going to take my chances here. The minute you feel any kind of scratchy throat or anything, you go to right to the heart of the matter. Woo. Woo. You get a nice little steam and you cleanse your little face and stuff too. So that's not expensive. Again, this might be a little costly if it's not in your budget. Then you can just take the fresh oregano and the peppermint and grow it right in your windowsill. Wow, everything is all nice and open. Woo. And then you get like a nice, maybe go outside, woo, open the window, let the air come on. So that's something that you can do. So we have this tea. I'm probably gonna let that cool and toss it right outside with the rest of the compost. So again, all three of these are herbs that I'm growing inside the house. The peppermint, the oregano, right? And there are different types of mint. You have lemon mint, you have regular mint, you have spearmint, there's chocolate mint. I'm growing chocolate mint. And the garden, it smells like mint and chocolate. And then it's also peppermint. So peppermint is the one that I prefer to take underneath the tongue. I find it to be the most potent when it comes to colds and different stuff in your throat. And then it's the oregano and the citronella, which is really good to ward off mosquitoes inside of your garden. So invest in some seeds, growing some plants. Perhaps you can even share the plants with some of your friends and also plant them at little strategic places inside of your garden. So basil, thyme, oregano, and mint. You can plant them strategically, like in areas around your tomatoes or some of your succulents, so that all the bugs won't be wanting to bite you up, right? And some of them, there are some bugs, they can't see that great, right? But they're moving around in the garden via smell. So they can smell the essential oils on you, and they can smell them around the plant, and that will make them deflect them and make them go another way. So hopefully this is useful for you. If you try it, let me know. Subscribe to the channel. Share this with someone, because I'm all about the ways of the mothers and the grandmothers. And I'm going to say this. Today, we're in a time where many women, we don't know how to recognize chickenpox, wingworm, measles, infections, yeast infections, some basic stuff. These are the ways of the mothers and the grandmothers. So a lot of this information is not being transmitted. So I'm so blessed and fortunate to have been able to sit down next to my grandma Lou in the kitchen, and while we're grating coconut for her coconut sweetbread, whatever she happened to be making at that time, they're just principles and lessons that I got. And one of the biggest ones is eat. I encourage you. I don't tell grown folks what to do. I encourage you to eat your own food. You know exactly what's in it. So much stuff falls into play just from eating your own food, right? The food starts talking to you. You get a lot of information, right? I can tell quite often when I'm dealing with clients or other people, I can just tell from their language that they're not eating their own food, because I know there's a lot of information you would be seeing, because you know how the food behaves when you're dealing with it with your own hands. All right, folks, so y'all create a great rest of the evening on purpose. Protect your peace. Be in peace, not in pieces, right? Subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all very soon.